Hey, it's Congressman Rick Larsen, and thanks for tuning in for this week's Recap with Rick. I'm here on Capitol Hill, where the House of Representatives is back in session after a lengthy absence, or we were back in our districts for the October district work period. I'm thankful that I can continue the work on behalf of the 750,000 or so folks who call the second district home. There's a lot of work to do over the next 2 months here in the 118th Congress, and today, Friday, marks the third anniversary, the year 3 anniversary of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Thanks to the BIL, every day is Infrastructure Day in the Pacific Northwest and in my district. Since November 2021, more than $568 billion in bipartisan infrastructure law funding has been invested in over 66,000 projects in Washington state and in communities across the country. This includes more than $386 million for infrastructure projects in my district, Washington's 2nd District, which includes projects like the Mount Vernon Library Commons project, the Linwood Link light rail extension, cleaner buses for your local transit agencies, cleaner ferries, safer roads and highways for everybody, and so much more. And this week alone, the Department of Transportation announced more than $18.3 million in port infrastructure improvement funding for the Port of Anacortes and for the Lummi Nation. The Port of Anacortes is going to replace a 47-year-old dock they call the T dock, and the port received $7.4 million for that project. And the Lummi Nation will get $10.9 million to demolish and replace a pier at Fisherman's Cove Marina Dock at Gooseberry Point. So I always say you can't have a big league economy with little league infrastructure. And these investments mean jobs, and they're a key to building a cleaner, greener, safer, and more accessible transportation system for everybody. But we need to keep that momentum going. And as a top Democrat on the Transportation Committee, I am focused on passing the next version of the Surface Transportation Bill in the 119th Congress, a bill that will continue to fund roads, bridges, highways, transit, rail, and a few other things. And I invite you to contact my office to talk about what your transportation needs are. And we're going to be, my office folks will be going out throughout the district as well to talk to people about what our transportation needs are for the next version of the Surface Transportation Bill. And speaking of the Transportation Committee, the Coast Guard and Maritime Transportation Subcommittee had a hearing earlier this week on the need for investing in icebreaker capabilities for the U.S. Coast Guard in order to maintain our leadership in the Arctic. And to do this work, the U.S. relies on the Coast Guard and its icebreakers to represent our interests in the region. And during the hearing, I highlighted the importance of improvements at Base Seattle, in Coast Guard Base Seattle in Seattle, Washington, as well as other projects for the Coast Guard. Looking ahead, as I mentioned, the House has a lot of work to do still. The House is in the final stages of delivering a Water Resources Development Act and a bipartisan Coast Guard reauthorization. 2 very critical bills, the first one being important for the Army Corps of Engineers, the second one, of course, for the Coast Guard. I'm focused on securing the earmark funding, about $14.4 million in the House version of the appropriations bills. And I'm trying to get those in the final spending package for 15 projects throughout the 2nd Congressional District. And I'm pushing to get my 4 opioid bills, 4 bills to tackle the opioid crisis in our communities, getting those, getting more co-sponsors and getting those passed. So a lot going on, and that's it until next week, and I'll see you next week for the next Recap with Rick. Thanks.